Hi, Natal, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, thank you. Morning. My name is Segev. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to this proceeding, number 23A-0499CP. It comes on for hearing pursuant to R24-0063-I. R24-0063-I rescheduled the hearing for today's date after R23-0814 originally scheduled hearing in this proceeding for February 8, 2020. Now approximately 9 a.m. on Tuesday, February 27, 2024. I'm now calling the hearing to order. Before we start with entries of appearance, I want to advise all of the attendees that commission's practice to webcast legal audio and video feeds hearing are being webcasted. We're also recording the hearing, and we have a court reporter who is transcribing everything being said. To help the court reporter and so that we can have a good, clean record, please keep your microphones muted until it is your turn to speak. If at any time I mispronounce a name or refer to someone by an incorrect gender pronoun, I apologize and mean no disrespect. Please simply correct me, and I will do my best to get that right from. Let's start with entries of appearance. Mute yourself. And tell us whom.
Aviv, it's Harriet. Sorry to interrupt. It's kind of cutting in and out, so you might want to try calling her again, I guess.
Sorry, say it again.
It's kind of cutting in and out. You're kind of cutting. Yeah, so maybe she missed the introduction. For her.
Ms. Thank you, Harriet. Ms. Moon, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself so that we can start with entries of. It looks like you just unmuted yourself. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yes, I am here.
And can you spell your name and tell us on behalf of whom you're appearing?
My first name is Rhiannon, spelled R-H-I-A-N-N-O-N. Last name Moon, and I'm here on behalf of Her Ride.
Her Ride LLC. Okay, very good. Thank you. Ms. Ponkovic, if you could unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and tell us on behalf of whom you are appearing. Zvonkovic, it appears you're still muted. If you could unmute yourself, that would be great. Try one more time. Okay, it looks like you just did yourself, Ms. Zvonkovic.
This is Marcos Grego, Marcosgriego, witness and representative for Pikes Peak Cab.
Okay, is Ms. Zvonkovic going to be appearing, or is it just you?
It's just going to be me. She's not available.
So, okay, Mr. Gregor, okay. All right, let me see. see. I do not believe we have any outstanding motions to discuss. Nonetheless, I will give each party an opportunity to address any preliminary matter they wish to address. But before that, let me just ask the parties if by chance they discuss stipulation with respect to any exhibit. If not, that's perfectly fine, and I did not anticipate you would. But Ms. Moon, have you discussed stipulation of any exhibits in this proceeding?
No, Your Honor.
That's fine. And let's now, Ms. Moon, do you have any preliminary matters you wish to address before we begin with the evidentiary portion of the hearing? Moon, did you hear my question?
Yes, Your Honor. I do have an objection to the exhibit 211 that was submitted. I'm just not sure if this is the time that I would request that or not.
Good question. No, it is not quite the time yet, but
Okay.
if and when it is offered for evidence, I will go over kind of, how this proceeding will work and my expectation, and hopefully that will give you an idea as to when you might object. But it is not time to object to it quite yet. It's
Okay.
a good question nonetheless.
Thank you.
Of course. Mr. Gregor, do you have any preliminary matters you wish to address before we turn on to the evidentiary portion of the hearing?
No, I don't.
Very good. I'll now briefly explain how this hearing will work. Before the beginning of the evidentiary hearing, I will give each party an opportunity to make an opening statement. Generally speaking, an opening statement is a roadmap for what each party believes the evidence will show. Neither party is required to make an opening statement. Since Her Ride filed the application, by the way, I will be referring to Her Ride LLC as Her Ride, and Pikes Peak Cab LLC DBA Pikes Peak Transport as Pikes Peak, just so that it is clear. So since Her Ride filed the application in this matter, Her Ride has the burden to prove that the application should be granted. This means that Her Ride will present the evidence first. This usually comes in the form of witness testimony and documents that Her Ride may present as exhibits. The intervener, Pikes Peak, will have the opportunity to ask Her Ride witnesses questions, and if Her Ride asks for any documents to be admitted as evidence, I will give Pikes Peak the opportunity to object to the admission of said document. Object if you believe there is a legal reason for why I should not consider the document as evidence. And this is not an opportunity for you to present your case quite yet. Rather, it is just an opportunity to make a legal objection to the introduction of evidence by Her Ride. After the direct testimony of each of Her Ride witnesses, I will give you, Mr. Grego, an opportunity to cross-examine or ask questions of each of Her Ride witnesses. After the cross-examination, I have my own questions for Her Ride witnesses. After my questions, if any, Ms. Moon will have the opportunity to engage in what we call redirect questioning. Redirect is designed to clear up any issue that were raised by either Mr. Grego's cross-examination or my question. I caution both parties that both the questions and the answers to and by all witnesses need to be relevant to whether the application filed by Her Ride in this case should be granted. Once you, Ms. Moon, tell me that you have no more witnesses or exhibits to introduce, that will be an indication that Her Ride has rested its case. Pikes Peak turn to present its evidence. Like Her Ride, Pikes Peak will be able to introduce exhibits and put on witnesses. I will give Her Ride the same opportunity to object to the introduction of exhibits and cross-examine witnesses. I may ask Pikes Peak witness questions, and I will give Mr. Grego the same opportunity for redirect questioning. Both parties presented their evidence. I will give each party an opportunity for a closing argument. Closing arguments are designed to explain to me why, based on the evidence presented today, the application should be granted in your case, Ms. Moon, or denied in your case, Mr. Grego. Again, I'm not sure this would be necessary, and there's certainly no requirement to provide closing arguments. I also understand that both parties have been able to upload all of their documents they intend to present as exhibits today into box.com. If that's not the case, please let me know now. Ms. Moon, is that the case? You were able to upload all of the documents you intend on introducing as exhibits today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
And Mr. Grego, same question.
Yes, everything's uploaded.
Very good. Ms. Moon, would you like to make an opening statement? If so, please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've just continuously heard too many stories of trauma-inducing experiences in our community with the obtaining transportation to continue to be idle about this issue. The statistics to our particular county are offered in Exhibit 100 to support the risks that our community is facing. I personally have ongoing years of experience listed in another exhibit. Her Ride provides a different perspective and business approach shown by Pikes Peak. Her Ride is not just a transportation option, Your Honor. It is bridging a gap. It's responding to a need that our community has identified and focusing on care that is not discriminatory. Her Ride is focused on a social impact in our community that could be made, generational trauma that could be reduced, and the empowerment of safety that everybody should experience. None of the current transportation companies mention any of these as a driving force for their business, which stands Her Ride apart. Needs are simply not being met safely in our community, and our witnesses are here to speak to that. Combined, Her Ride and our witnesses would like an opportunity to address this issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Grego, I will give you the same opportunity to make an opening statement.
Yep. Pikes Peak Cab has intervened on Her Ride's application for destructive competition and for her inability to provide services to a good majority of Colorado Springs. That is all.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to the evidentiary portion of the hearing. Ms. Moon, is Her Ride ready to present its evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to start with Rosita, if I could call her for my first witness.
Please go ahead. Call her. And Ms. Rosita?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. My name is Rosita Camargo Gillum. That is Rosita Camargo is Camargo-Gillam, Gilliam. I am here on behalf of the witness to Her Ride LLC, as well as a citizen of Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Very good. Thank you for all of that. Would you please raise your right hand and turn on your camera? I would prefer that everybody turn on their camera. If we have any bandwidth issues, I might ask you to turn it off. But for now, if you would turn on your camera and raise your right hand. I see you, but I'm assuming your right hand is raised. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I swear.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see you now. Thank you. Please go ahead, Ms. Moon.
Rosita, I would just like to start by asking if you could summarize the letter that you had submitted previously.
Yes. So I have been working in Colorado Springs in the social service field for the entire time I've lived here in Colorado Springs, so 16 years. In that time, I've talked with many people who are victims of sexual assault, as well as stalking. During my experience, one of the main barriers to specifically women coming in and getting services is the ability to get a share ride that they feel comfortable in utilizing. Many women, after I found out actually about Her Ride LLC being launched, I talked with some of the women that I work with and asked them if they were comfortable sharing their stories with me, if they had any stories relevant to rideshare. It was very disturbing, the stories that I heard. It ranged from everything from gentlemen sexually harassing them with words all the way to making them feel scared because they were taking them past their house. Things of intimidation, instances of stalking, where they would go to the woman's house multiple times or their place of business. I even have one participant, client, if you may, who refuses to use share ride and will only use the public bus transportation because she had been stalked by a share ride driver in the past.
Thank you. Do you see personally or throughout the work that you complete here in inadequacy of services throughout the ride shares in our community?
I do. So even though we have options, there are options, and we all love options, correct? There's Uber as well as Lyft here in Colorado Springs. The one thing that the majority of the women that I talk to will say is there's not enough female drivers or policies put in place that would make them feel safe. They ask, why is it okay that when they complain that somebody's stalking them, that their employer doesn't really take it seriously? When I looked up the data, it actually was really scary. I think it was about 48% of all Uber drivers in the country had some type of infraction against them when it came to sexual harassment. So it's very scary that there's not enough competition out there. It seems that we have a saturation of ride shares, but not enough options. And Her Ride seems to be able to fit what a lot of my clientele are asking for, and that is accountability and a sensitivity to the traumas that they have survived.
Thank you, Rosita. I believe them are all the questions that I have at this moment for Rosita.
Thank you. Mr. Gregor, do you have any cross-examination questions for Ms. Carmago-Gilliam based on her testimony?
No questions.
I do have a couple, if I may. Ms. Carmago-Gilliam, could you tell me what company are you employed by and in what role?
So I currently am the healthcare program manager for Serenity Recovery Connections. I primarily work with women who are living with substance use disorder and have a history of sexual trauma. In the past, I have worked for Homeward Pikes Peak, where I ran the sober living home for women who also were suffering from SUD and sexual trauma. Before that, I worked for Partners in Housing, where I worked specifically with women who had suffered sexual trauma.
Thank you for that. Another quick question. How do you know Ms.
Miss Moon and I began working together in 2018 at Homeward Pikes Peak.
All right. That's all the questions that I have. Ms. Moon, do you have any redirect questions for Ms. Carmago-Gilliam?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Rosita, while working together at Homeward Pikes Peak, did you ever witness any discriminatory practices by myself?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Your Honor.
Very good. Ms. Carmago-Gilliam, you are excused. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Moon, Ms. Moon, you are welcome to call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Dottie for my next witness.
Okay. What's Dottie's last name, if I?
Dottie Gray.
You said Gray?
Yes, Your Honor. Or that's how it's on the married name is different, but the screen name is Thomas. Thomas.
Ms. Gray, would you kindly turn on your camera? It's on, okay. Sorry about that. Ms. Gray, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
I swear.
Thank you. Could you spell your name for the record? And once you've done that, Ms. Moon, you may proceed.
It is Dottie, D-O-T-T-I-E. Last name here is Gray. Married name is Thomas. Gray is G-R-A-Y. Married name Thomas, T-H-O-M-A-S.
Thank you. Please go ahead, Ms. Moon.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, Dottie. I just want to ask if you could take this time to reiterate the letter of support that you have submitted previously. If there's anything else that you wanted to add.
Sure. I did a little bit of research, and it seems as though the population of Colorado Springs is going to grow substantially, especially over the next 20 years, and we're just going to keep expanding outward. And the need for rideshare is only going to increase. It is already in high demand, and the population is growing every day. They're building more apartments, and right now the population is so large that there's actually peak hours for most rideshare companies too. And they kind of do price gouging, in my opinion, as far as in my personal experience, my family has had difficulty getting my mother-in-law from her doctor's appointments after she was dropped off by rideshare, and then we try to find one to pick her up. And if it's peak hours, we cannot find a ride back for her. So I don't believe that this rideshare, Her Ride, is going to cause a dilution in business for Pikes Peak.
Thank you for sharing, Dottie. That's all I have.
Mr. Grego, do you have any cross-examination question for Ms. Gray/Thomas?
Nope, no questions.
Ms. Gray, Thomas, I do have a couple more questions. Could you tell me where you are employed and in what capacity?
Currently, I'm unemployed due to a medical condition and recent surgeries.
Good. And how do you know Ms. Moon?
I met Miss Moon at Homewards Pike Peak.
That's all I have. Ms. Moon, do you have any redirect questions?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Gray, Ms./Thomas. I appreciate your testimony. You are excused. Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness. Of course. Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness.
I would like to call Katie Vigliotti. Hope I said that right.
Hi,
Good morning.
I am here, Your Honor. I apologize. I have a dog too that wants to be here too.
Is at the risk of saying your last name incorrectly, I will go ahead anyway and try. Ms. Vigiletti, would you kindly raise your right hand?
Yep.
And
Go ahead. I'll stand up and do it.
thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And if you would spell your name for the record, and once you've done that, Ms. Moon, the witness is yours for questioning.
Okay. So my name is Katie Vigliotti. It's Katie, Katie, Vigliotti, V as in Victor, Igliootti.
Thank you and good morning, Katie. I would just like to see if you could summarize your letter of support for Her Ride this morning.
Okay. So Rhiannon, you know my past, and then Your Honor, my past with work experiences, I've worked as an Uber driver. And being a female Uber driver, I hear lots of stories, and I also get a lot of feedback from females who I have picked up when I'm out and I'm driving them. And there's so many women that have expressed to me that they are so happy that I picked them up. They feel comfortable telling me that because I am a woman that showed up to pick up another female. I'm also a single mother here in Colorado Springs and very limited on options in terms of transportation if I am to use a rideshare service. So I understand the feelings myself personally that the other women have expressed to me when they are concerned, whether it be women who are younger, like young girls that go out from the colleges that are in town and they have a fun night out and they're not going home until, 1:30 in the morning. Or whether it be someone like myself, middle of the road and age-wise, or elderly women that I've picked up and taken to doctor's appointments. They're so happy to have someone like me to assist them that's similar to them.
Thank you. Katie, while you were driving for Uber, were there any additional trainings that they offered to you as a driver to kind of assist with the population that you were going to be working with?
Minimal. It was a video that you would watch, and it would have like little scenes reenacted, kind of, in my opinion, cheesy, unrealistic, but to say that we could check the box that we watched it.
Okay, thank you. Did you think that the trainings provided were adequate to meet the situations that you were encountered with?
No, I would say that if anything, it was, like I said, to check a box.
Okay. Them are all the questions that I have, Your Honor. Thank you, Katie.
Yep, you're welcome.
Just one, I'm sorry.
Do you want, I'll stay on.
Please do. Mr. Grego, do you have any cross-examination questions for Ms. Vigliotti?
No, I do not.
I have a quick question, Ms. Vigliotti. How did you come to know Ms. Moon?
So I met Miss Moon actually through a local Facebook page. There's a local woman in town who needed help. She had severe depression and had a hoarding situation going on in her house. And her daughter, who lives out of state, had reached out through Facebook asking for help. So the lady who had depression, and a bunch of women and I came together along with Miss Moon to help her clean out her house and find the resources that she needed to get that help.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate your testimony. You are excused.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You, Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness.
Thank you. I would like to call Cheyenne Howe, please.
Ms. Howe.
Yes.
Your camera is on. Thank you very much. Would you please raise your right hand? Answer the following question. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Ms. Moon, the witness is yours for questioning. Oh, and just before we start with the questioning, Ms. Howe, if you could kindly spell your name for the record.
My name is Cheyenne, Cheyene. Last name Howe, Howe.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ms. Moon, the witness is yours for questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Cheyenne. If I could have you as well kind of summarize the letter of support that you had submitted on behalf of Her Ride.
Okay. So the letter that I submitted talks about just being a young woman in Colorado Springs. I went to college out there, and just realizing that the public transportation system in Colorado Springs is lacking in a lot of different ways. You have, buses that only run certain times, ride shares that, like somebody else had mentioned, have peak hours that if you're lucky, you can get a ride at that time. And just what that experience is as a young woman trying to navigate the city, especially for me in my experience. I moved out to Colorado Springs by myself to go to college. So I didn't have other friends, family, anybody else to kind of help assist in moving about the city. And from my experience, it was very unsafe and uncomfortable. There wasn't any one time that, I didn't take a ride share without sharing my location with somebody or taking extra safety precautions. And I feel like Her Ride can add to helps with the safety and the security of women, and just help elevate people overall.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Cheyenne. I am curious as far as Pikes Peak. Have you actually tried searching or locating them as a rideshare option in Colorado Springs?
I have. They do not pop up on Google. They have very low online presence. I've tried to look for them on Facebook, Instagram, Google, any of those things. I don't believe it even pops up as on the first page of a Google search at all.
Thank you. I believe them are the only questions that I have for you. Then thank you, Cheyenne.
Thank you. Mr. Grego, any cross-examination question for Ms. Howe?
Sure. When you were Googling Pikes Peak Cab, were you able to find Pikes Peak Cab on Google?
I was not. The only way that I was able to find Pikes Peak Cab is if you specifically type in Pikes Peak Cab LLC. And I believe it was even just maybe halfway, if not most of the way through the page itself. So it has to be very, very specific with the full legal name in there. And still, it's not the first option that pops up.
So you were able to find Pikes Peak Cab on a Google search?
Yes, after searching for a very long time.
Okay. And why were you searching for Pikes Peak Cab? Were you going to call for a taxi?
Yeah, I was looking at different options, different rideshare companies, things like that.
Okay. And searching Facebook, did you type in Pikes Peak Cab on Facebook?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to find Pikes Peak Cab on Facebook?
No, I was not.
So you're saying Pikes Peak Cab does not have a Facebook account if you type in Pikes Peak Cab Facebook.
I don't know if they have an account, but I was not able to find it by typing in Pikes Peak Cab. And even going to their website after I was able to find the website.
Account?
I'm sorry?
Do you
Mr.
have
Grego,
a Facebook account yourself?
No.
You don't have a Facebook account.
Oh, I do have a Facebook account. Sorry. I couldn't hear you properly.
So you understand basics, how to use Google and Facebook, but you're saying you can't find us on Google and you can't find us on Facebook, even though we've been open for over 8 years and we've serviced hundreds of thousands of rides in Colorado Springs. But your particular experience, you can't find us on Google or Facebook. Is that what you're saying?
I was able to find you on Google after extensive searching, and on Facebook, I was not able to. And even through the website, you have your social medias linked. And even when you follow those links, it does not take you to those accounts.
Okay. And you said that Her Ride is going to provide some kind of safer transportation. How are they going to provide a safer transportation?
So from my understanding, Her Ride is providing people the opportunity to see their drivers, to accept their drivers, and vice versa, to accept their passengers as well, with higher training, higher diversity training, and to be able to schedule their rides ahead of time and have that already queued up and available, that you know that you're going out that night and you have a ride, you know.
How is the driver and the passenger, or how is the passenger going to be able to pick which driver that they're going to get picked up by?
How did you hear Mr. Grego's question?
And I did not.
Mr. Grego, would you please repeat your question?
Yeah, you stated that Her Ride, there's going to be an ability for the passenger to choose the driver. How is that going to happen?
I'm not sure. That's not my app.
Okay. So no more questions.
Thank you. A couple of questions for me. Said that similar question to Mr. Gregor's question. You said that the riders of Her Ride would be able to, quote unquote, see the driver. Do you know, like, what do you mean by that?
You said by safer?
To see the driver. I think that's the word that you use. They will be able to see. I think Mr. Gregor took it to mean that the riders would be able to pick their drivers. I'm not sure what you meant by it, so I'm asking you. What does it mean for a rider to be able to see the driver?
I see. So by that, I did mean that you were able to choose your driver. You're able to accept that that is the person that's picking you up and verify that that is the person picking you up.
As far as you know, understand that would be done through an application
I believe so,
on
yeah.
one's phone. And then another quick question, if I may. How did you come to know Ms. Moon?
We're in a similar Pikes Peak Indigenous Women's Group.
You were in a I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I did not get it.
It's a group for Indigenous women in Colorado Springs.
Through a group in Colorado. Okay. Understood. Thank you very much. Ms. Moon, do you have any redirect questioning for Ms. Howe?
Your Honor, I do wonder if this would be the time to offer Exhibit 103 to clarify the Facebook search that there seemed to be confusion on.
If you wish to do so, please go ahead.
Yes, if we could, I would like to offer Exhibit 103, Your Honor.
Okay.
In regards to, if you go to page 6, this is an example of searching for Pikes Peak Cab LLC in its full name on Facebook. And as you see, it goes, it did not show up on the first page. So I believe that's what we were trying to clarify as far as the Facebook search goes. Page 3 offers the Instagram search. Page 4 and 5 offer the Google Maps search, which a lot of people do use to obtain the services they're trying to find in the area. And there it does say Pikes Peak Transport LLC. However, it didn't show up as well. So I would just like to offer that exhibit for clarification of locating Pikes Peak in our community is difficult, as I've said.
Understood. So can we please scroll through each of the pages of, Casey, would you please, of Exhibit 103? And you said that you would like to offer it into evidence. And once we've done scrolling, I will ask Mr. Gregor if he has an objection to Exhibit 103 being admitted into evidence. But let's first scroll through each of the pages. So, Ms. Moon, or could you tell us what this second page is?
So page 1 and page 2, Your Honor, was in response to Pikes Peak listing numerous said companies that are available to our community. And I did go through them and just noticed that a lot of them are not in the same realm of Her Ride potentially, because they are nationwide shuttles, luxury transportation options. And this just kind of summarizes it. Page 2 are the ones that I could not locate online at all.
Okay, page 3, please. What is page 3?
Page 3 is the example of my search for them on Instagram.
Okay, what is page 4?
Page 4 is the example of them on Google search.
Okay, page 5.
Continuing of that Google search.
6.
Facebook search for the company of Pikes Peak.
7.
Also the same. That does look like a duplicate, Your Honor. Page 8 comes from the local Colorado Springs website, where you can gain all of the community resources. And I located that web page, and this shows like the limousines, and I was comparing that into page 1, saying that a majority of the companies listed by Pikes Peak actually fall underneath the limousine bracket. And then going on to page 9 is where Pikes Peak Cab is listed. And they mention oversaturation in the market, but according to our local website, there's 2 listed.
Okay, what about page 10?
Page
10.
Page 10 is a condensed screenshot of 8 and 9.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Gregor, do you have an objection to the admission of what's been marked as hearing exhibit 103?
No.
You said you did not?
No, I don't have an objection to it.
So hearing exhibit, thank you. Hearing exhibit 103 is admitted. Ms. Moon, I'm sorry, Ms. Howe, again, thank you for your testimony. And I appreciate your time, and you're excused. Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could call Christopher Thomas, please.
Thomas, please turn it on. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth.
I do.
Thank you. And down, and Miss, and could you please spell your name for the record? And once Mr. Thomas has done that, Ms. Moon, you're welcome to proceed with the questioning.
It's Christopher Thomas. Christopher is spelled Christopher. Last name Thomas, Thomas.
Good morning, and thank you, Chris. I would just like to give you an opportunity and ask you to share with us this morning why you think the current services are inadequate and the need for Her Ride.
So from my personal experience using ride shares in Colorado Springs, you may wait a couple of hours to get a ride. I've tried to get my mom rides within town from various doctor's appointments, and between certain hours, you're paying double to triple the price, and there aren't very many options available. I'm also a case manager for our veteran clients at Homer Pikes Peak, and many of our clients use ride shares to get around town to appointments, even to the VA or to base, because my clients do access the bases and the VA healthcare system here. And the med rides even are sometimes they're waiting 2 or 3 hours to get a ride. And then sometimes the rides just do not show, and we still have to find alternative means.
Thank you, Chris. And you did mention Homeward Pikes Peak, where that's where our relationship was established, correct?
Yes.
And while working with me at Homeward Pikes Peak, did you ever witness any discriminatory or operational concerns that would be worth mentioning?
No. I didn't witness anything that would cause any concerns for Her Ride based off of your performance there.
Thank you, Chris. Them are all the questions that I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Gregor, do you have any cross-examination questions for Mr. Thomas?
No questions.
Sorry, you said no question?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, could you tell me where you are employed and in what capacity?
I'm currently a case manager for our veteran clients at Homeward Pikes Peak.
Very good. And can you please tell me, how did you come to know Ms. Moon?
She was one of the other case managers there when I started. And by the time she resigned from there to start Her Ride, she was my direct supervisor.
Ms. Moon, thank you for that, Mr. Thomas. Ms. Moon, do you have any redirect questioning for Mr. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Thomas, thank you very much for your testimony. You're excused. Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness.
I would like to call Sarah Stegeman, please.
Of course, Ms. Stegeman, would you kindly turn your camera on? Raise your, I see that it's on. Thank you. Raise your right hand. Following question, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Please spell your name for the record. And once you've done that, Ms. Moon, you may proceed with the questioning.
Sure. Sarah Stegeman, Saravstegeman.
Thank you. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
If I could ask you to just summarize why you are here to support Her Ride this morning.
Absolutely. I moved to Colorado Springs in 2020, and I do not have a vehicle, so I have been utilizing public transportation and shared ride services. And I've had some issues with shared ride services personally, and when I worked at a hotel for a small amount of time, we actually struggled as well. During the pandemic specifically, I had a really hard time finding rides. One particular night I was in the ER and I got out around 3 a.m. and it took me over 3 hours to get a ride home. Uber, Lyft, everything I Googled, I couldn't find anyone to get a ride. And then more recently, my experience, I worked at a hotel and we would have international travelers who were unable to use their phone to get ride services such as Uber or Lyft. And I didn't even know that there was any other transportation available in Colorado Springs besides Z-Trip.
Thank you. So you sound like a pretty experienced rider, I would call you. Has Pikes Peak Cab showed up on your search while at working or your years of trying to obtain rides?
Honestly, it hasn't. I was unaware of it until I talked to Miss Moon about this situation with Her Ride. And at the hotel I worked at, I worked with two ladies who had over 20 years experience each. And when we looked at Google searches, they told me Colorado Springs only had one ride service, which was Z-Trip. So the people who have a hotel experience in the city don't even know we have other options.
Okay. Would you say the options that you have used throughout the years are adequate in serving our population?
No, there's a variety of issues, availability, which people have talked about, availability with ride, the cost to ride, the surging prices, if it's a busy time, can make it inaccessible for people who have limited income, and also safety issues, ranging from drivers saying inappropriate things to drivers talking about other customers who they've previously had, and making a rider feel very uncomfortable with the content of their conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. Them are all the questions I have, Your Honor.
You, Mr. Gregor, do you have any cross-examination questions for Ms. Stegeman?
Sure. If Her Ride was in business and you called Her Ride and they showed up to pick up, like you said, some of your guests at your hotel, would you feel comfortable knowing that your guests were leaving with Her Ride?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. If you found out the driver of that vehicle was a convicted drug dealer and spent time in prison and was arrested for DUI, DWAI, multiple convictions for drug possession, would you still feel comfortable with your customers leaving with that driver?
Well, I would have to know, I guess, more information. People do have a past and people can definitely change. I believe strongly in the ability of people to change. And just because people have done things wrong in the past does not mean that they're going to continue to do things wrong. And it also could mean that the person has learned a lot and those experiences could be very valuable to helping others.
So you're okay with giving everyone a blind chance, including Z-Trip, Pikes Peak Cab, Uber, Lyft drivers, no matter how unsafe you feel using those services, but you would feel more comfortable using a service where you knew the person picking you up had a long criminal history and prison time?
I told you I would need more information.
So if you Googled this person and found this information and saw it for yourself, you would still use that service?
I would need a lot more information about the situation. I'm not able to Google any of my drivers in a shared ride service.
But you're going to know which driver is going to come and pick you up with Her Ride services.
Correct.
So if
And
the
then I
name
would
is
be
on
able,
there, you
then I
can
would be
simply
able to look at that
Sure.
person's situation and make a decision based on the specific situation.
So if you knew a particular driver from Her Ride was coming to pick you up, you have their name, and you did a basic Google search, and you saw their criminal history, would you get in that vehicle?
I believe Her Ride is going to vet their drivers, and based on their criminal background check, I would trust that the driver is someone that they have employed.
No more questions.
Thank you for that. Ms. Stegeman, tell me, how did you become familiar with Ms. Moon?
Sure. We socially kind of met volunteering at food pantry, a local one.
Thank you. No further questions from me. Ms. Moon, do you have any redirect questioning for Ms. Stegeman?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Stegeman, I thank you very much for your testimony. You're excused. Ms. Moon, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, that does conclude all my witnesses, but I would like to make sure that I could take this opportunity to submit exhibits 100 and 101.
Play it on the screen in just a moment, and start with 100.
I would just like to make sure that these do get submitted, as I did mention them in my opening statement. So Exhibit 100 just shows the overall crimes against people in El Paso County alone. And then page two.
Where was this data? I'm sorry. Where was the data displayed on
Oh,
the first page?
it is coming from police data, coloradosprings.gov, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes.
But the second page?
And the second one is also from the same website mentioned, police data, coloradosprings.gov. This just shows a screenshot, Your Honor. I did a search from January 1 to, I believe, February 6th, and it captures the amount of reported crimes that were reported in El Paso County. And we had already reached, I believe, 3,704. And if you do the time on that, that's like just over a month. So it kind of shows the risk that our whole community is at any given time. And then starting on page 3, going through page 6 are the statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence that outlines the risk of males and females for the mentioned data that in exhibit, or the page 1, I guess it would be.
Pages 3 through 6 were taken, the document that was taken from a web page of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Page 7?
That, so page 7 through page 17 are going to be combined letters of support, some of which were able to testify today and some of which were not. They are combined of local communities and travelers alike.
Would we could pause for just a keep going, please.
It goes to 17. And that would conclude Exhibit 100.
Okay. And you want me to admit it into evidence, is that correct?
Yes, please.
Gregor, do you have an objection to what's been marked as hearing 100 being admitted?
No, but I have a quick question. I'm just wondering, the applicant is applying to provide call and demand shuttle service in Colorado Springs. I'm just wondering, what does domestic violence, all these stats on assault have to do with providing transportation in Colorado Springs?
Well, I understand your question, and it may be a valid one, but I am now just asking if you have legal objection.
Yeah, totally. It's totally fine. Yes.
All right, so your objection
yes.
is relevant, right? So you're objecting on the basis of relevance. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just don't understand what most of this has to do with providing transportation in Colorado Springs. I just don't understand.
Okay, so Ms., I'll let you respond, Ms. Moon. What is your response, if any, to Mr. Grego's relevance objection, at least with respect to, I believe the statistics to the pages, I believe it was page 3 through 6, and there were several more pages. What is your response with respect to the alleged or to the pages that Mr. Grego claims are irrelevant to the issue at stake in this proceeding?
Your Honor, I submitted that as part of the exhibit for a few reasons. Part of it because that is the passion of where Her Ride has been developed after hearing all the traumatic stories that I have heard. The statistics are also there to show the community as a whole, as any bystander on the street is at risk of. And also really to point out the different approach that I have as a business and the development and training that will go into that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the objection. Thank you for the response. I understand your objection and may in part be valid. I will give it, but nonetheless, I'm going to overrule the objection. However, I will give the document the appropriate weight when I issue my recommended decision. So again, hearing exhibit 100 is admitted. And Ms. Moon, you said that you were also seeking to admit another document. Is that correct? What is the number of that document?
Yes, Your Honor, that is exhibit 101.
Moment, but Casey will display it on the screen. Could you please tell us what this document is?
Absolutely. I would just like to offer this exhibit to exemplify the trainings that I have been required to obtain, which are noted by the stars in my previous position. However, the following pages do go on to display the trainings that I have chosen to obtain to gain further knowledge in providing services in our community, whether that be, integrated services or providing services for a special population that I believe would carry over into the business model that I'm creating.
Hold down on the.
I think it once again speaks to the different approach that Her Ride has offered in regards to all the research that I've done on all the transportation websites listed previously.
So the stars, the asterisks by the various courses, what do they denote? What's the difference between a asterisk marked course versus a non-asterisk?
The asterisk marks represent the trainings that I obtained that were required by Homeward Pikes Peak while in my previous position.
The other ones are ones you chose to obtain. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor. And this reflects, I believe this is about a year and a half.
And the second page, if we could.
I have a passion for numerous populations.
Third page, thank you. What is that third page?
The third page, let me see. Oh, that's reflecting the small business development interactions that I had last year prior to leaving my position. And then volunteering events that I've participated in locally, basically showing my involvement in the community and that connection and bridging the gap that I intend to do with Her Ride and not just entering this market as a business profit mindset.
Mr. Gregor, do you have a legal objection to hearing what's been marked as hearing 101 being admitted into it?
No, no.
Hearing exhibit 101 is admitted. Are there any other documents you wish to admit or any other witnesses you wish to call, Ms. Moon?
No, Your Honor.
We'll will take that to mean that you tested your case. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Grego, it is now Pike Speak's turn to present its evidence. You're the only witness. You can, when you're ready, just raise your right hand and answer the following question. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Would you kindly turn your camera on? I don't believe it is on.
I've been trying to turn it on and it is not working.
Okay, all right. It's not crucial. I think we can manage without it. Since again, you're the one who would be testifying, you can spell your name and proceed your testimony.
Marcos, M-A-R-C-O-S, Grego, G-R-I-E-G-O.
Okay, and you do not need to ask yourself questions. Just let me know everything you think I need to know in regards to this case and why you intervene and why you believe that the application filed by Her Ride should be denied.
For two reasons. The destructive competition, we've been in business since 2016 in Colorado Springs. And just before COVID, the business started to decline with COVID. And since then, nothing has gone back to where it was pre-COVID. Business is, I don't see it ever returning in Colorado Springs anytime soon. We listed our annuals that are submitted to the Public Utilities Commission yearly, and it does show a very large decline there. Another company starting in Colorado Springs is just going to take business from other companies that are in service providing the service. I know the applicant has stated she's going to provide some kind of different service. I don't know, something to do with psychology, some kind of safe transportation. Our company has female drivers. We have cameras in the vehicle. I mean, there's no other service she can provide that'll be any different than the current services in Colorado Springs. And the other thing is we listed in Exhibit 211 her criminal record and the inability for her to provide services to a very large portion of Colorado Springs. We have 4 military installations, and we contacted the gates at all the military bases, and Fort Carson and the Air Force Academy said the applicant would definitely not be let on to those military bases. Just those 2 military bases with DOD personnel, military personnel, family members. It's exceeding over 100,000 people just from those 2 military bases. Schriever and Peterson would not give us a direct answer. They said they would not provide that when she would arrive, they would make the determination there. But based on everything I know from being in this service since 2019, providing transportation in Colorado Springs, the military bases do not allow people with certain criminal records. So she wouldn't be able to provide any kind of safe service to the military personnel and their families here in Colorado Springs. So that's the other thing. She won't be providing a service. She'll be providing a disservice to the military servicemen and women in Colorado Springs.
So you reference Exhibit 211 is assuming you would like me to admit it into evidence in this case. Right?
Yes, it's her criminal record from North Dakota. She was convicted of a AA felony with a very large amount of crystal meth.
I understand. So let's just go page by page as we've done with Her Ride's exhibits. admitted. So can you describe what's on the first page of marked as hearing exhibit?
I'm having trouble hearing you. It keeps cutting out.
Sorry, can you please describe the first page of what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211?
This is the exhibit for her criminal record out of North Dakota, which lists the Class AA felony for possession with intent to deliver. With that criminal record, she was also charged with counterfeiting and multiple other convictions. She actually pled guilty to this charge, so there's no question if she was guilty or not. But this one particular section of our exhibits, I do believe is pretty important. She's boasting a safe community transportation, but I don't see how the people of Colorado Springs would feel safe being driven by somebody with such an extent of a criminal record. And all of her information is, like I was saying to her witness, if they're going to know who's picking you up and you have their name, if you do a basic search on her, it leads back to a newspaper clipping in Fargo, North Dakota, where she was arrested with, I believe, 70 grams of crystal methamphetamine, and her 4 children were living in the apartment where she was doing what she was doing, and they were taken into custody, and she was sentenced to a pretty lengthy prison sentence. In Colorado Springs, with the military bases, it would pose a problem for her. She would have to refuse service on a regular basis with the amount of servicemen and women in Colorado Springs.
So we can, let's try to separate your testimony, which is, again, appreciated and has value from the exhibit. Right now, and again, I will give you another opportunity to testify. But now that we're discussing what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211, you mentioned that the first page contains, and correct me if I'm wrong, essentially a summary of what precedes the first page.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go. Thank you for that. Let's go on to the second page. Could you tell us what this second page is, Gregor?
This second page is this is court records for her conviction in Fargo, North Dakota.
And where was this document obtained?
From the courthouse where she was convicted at.
From the website of the courthouse where she was convicted of. Is that what you're saying?
We actually contacted the courthouse. Yes.
Oh, you contacted the courthouse and they mailed that to you?
Yes.
Thank you. What is the third page of what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211? Mr. Gregor, did you hear my question? What's the third page?
Yeah, I can't get it to scroll down.
Can you? Are you viewing the Zoom session screen? Because it's presented
Okay, yep.
on the screen.
3 of 6. Yep, I can see it now. Yeah, this is just a part of the criminal records from Fargo, North Dakota.
Is it the second page of the document that started on the previous page, page 2?
Yes.
How about that, the fourth page of what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211? What is that? Is it a continuation of that same document?
Yes, it's a continuation of it.
Well, how about page 5?
That's a continuation of it.
Is it another? It appears to be another case where the defendant is Ms. Moon. Is that correct?
Yes, this is all of this
You
is the
also-
one particular case that would bar from.
You also received that from North Dakota court, correct?
The courthouse. Yes. Yes, it's official
What
documents
about
for
the
the court.
sixth? Thank you. And thank you for that. What about the sixth page? Is it a continuation of the prior page?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Moon, do you have a legal objection to what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211 being admitted into evidence?
I do, Your Honor.
What is your objection?
Well, I just want to thank you for, Marcos, for acknowledging the progress that can be made in the last 22 years. However, I do think that this is a frivolous claim, being that it is from 22 years ago. And as far as the military bases in an oversaturated market, if this is being assumed by Pikes Peak that I would apply at the military bases. This is also assuming that the military bases would deny me. But also in an oversaturated market, which is Pikes Peak claim, if I'm unable to gain that, that would then only help their said oversaturation issues. But main reason this is a frivolous claim from 22 years ago, Your Honor, and the ability to Google your rideshare pickups are just not a reality.
So, again, let's try to separate the testimony from the admission of exhibits. I will give you the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Grego, but as far as what's been marked as hearing exhibit 211, if I may rephrase, your objection is it again, it's relevancy. You do not see how this document is relevant to your request to made in the application. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. Code of Colorado regulations, and I have actually been employed on the Air Force base, so I don't think this has any substantial standing.
I will overrule the objection, and hearing exhibit 211 is admitted. Give it the appropriate weight, if any, when I write my recommended decision. Mr. Grego, do you have another exhibit or more testimony that you would like to present?
The other exhibit would be the annuals. 1 second. I believe it's exhibit 201 to 203, I believe.
We start with 201. Thank you. Mr. Grego, could you tell us what is exhibit 201?
201 is the annual report provided to the public utilities. These are done yearly with our gross revenue for the year. Exhibit 201 is from 2019, prior to the COVID. I believe in that year we did somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, 600,000 to 700,000, I believe. And at that time we had listed, I believe, 17 drivers. If you scroll to exhibit 202, it will list
before we
2020's
go, I understand. Just one moment. Let's go on page by page.
No problem.
201. What is the second page of exhibit 201? Same report? Is it the second page of the same report from 2019?
Yeah, that's the second page.
What about the third page? Again, a continuation of that same document?
Yes. This will list the gross for the year 671,000 for, yep.
Got it. That's the third page. What the fourth page is again a continuation of that same document. What about the fifth page?
Yes, it's a continuation of the same document, I believe, yes.
So is the sixth page. Is that correct?
Yes.
Like me to admit it into evidence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Moon, do you have an objection to what's been marked as hearing exhibit 201 being admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Hearing exhibit 201 is admitted. Let's please display hearing exhibit 202. Is that the next document you wish to admit into evidence, Mr. Grego?
Yes.
What is hearing exhibit 202 that's displayed on the screen right now?
This is the 2020 annual report submitted to the Public Utilities Commission.
So it's the same as the prior report, except for a different year. Is that a pretty accurate description of this document?
Yes. Yes.
And all pages 1 through 6 represent that same report from 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's just showing a general decline in public demand.
Good. Let's go through each of the pages quickly, please, Casey.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So that's the entirety of the document. So, Ms. Moon, do you have an objection to what's been marked as hearing exhibit 202 being admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Hearing exhibit 202 is admitted. Let's please display hearing exhibit, what's been hearing exhibit 203.
The 203 would be the same, the annual report, different year.
Report for a different year. This one is for 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
And pages 1 through 6 represent each of the pages of that 2021 report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Please scroll through each of the pages quickly. Ms. Moon, do you have an objection to what's been marked as hearing exhibit 203 being admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Hearing exhibit 203 is admitted. Mr. Gregor, do you have any additional documents you wish to present as evidence or additional testimony?
No, I
Gregor,
think that's
can you hear me?
everything.
That's everything. Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Moon, do you have any cross-examination question for Mr. Grego?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ready, you may proceed with the question.
Okay. I am wondering, you mentioned an oversaturated market. I'm wondering if you have any idea on how many companies have tried to enter the transportation market, say within the last 6 months or to a year. We'll go a year.
In the last year, there was, I believe, Billups Transportation. There is SOS Shuttle. There is Front Range Rides. There is CNV Transport. And there is your application just specifically in El Paso County for call on demand shuttle services.
Okay. And
Sorry, I did not hear that. Mr. Gregor, you said 0 applications?
Which part? No,
the last
there's
part.
the applicants, there's Billups Transportation, there's SOS Shuttle, there is Her Ride
But
attempting.
you said something about
There
I'm sorry, I
is-
apologize. You said something about El Paso County. What did you say about that?
Yeah, strictly in El Paso County, she's asking about the number of applications for call-on-demand shuttle services. I was just giving the names that I know personally that I've seen come across the
All right, I
PUC
see what you're
applications.
All right, I apologize for interrupting. I just did not hear very well. Ms. Moon, please proceed with your cross-examination.
Thank you. And of those companies mentioned, how many have you completed the intervention process?
None. We have not
Why?
intervened on any of those companies.
Okay. What caused you to intervene on Her Ride?
Based on your inability to provide services to the servicemen and women of the military in Colorado Springs specifically.
Okay. And are you authorized to make decisions on behalf of the military or gaining access to base?
No, that would be the military bases themselves would make that decision.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you for that. I do have 1 or 2 questions. Just give me a moment. Let me just ask you, Mr. Grego, how are you affiliated with Pikes Peak?
I am a part owner of the company. I'm the communications manager as well.
Okay. How long have you been with Pikes Peak?
Since 2016 is when we opened.
So since its inception in 2016, you said, right? Correct?
Yes. Yes.
I have no further questions. So that concludes the evidentiary portion of this.
Your Honor.
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Ms. Moon.
If I could come back to the witness and ask a couple more questions.
While it is not customary for me
Okay.
to allow that questions, I will nonetheless allow it in this case. Reserve the right to ignore, if you will, the witnesses' responses. But please go ahead. So again, we're opening the evidentiary portion of the proceeding, or to the extent it was closed. I don't think it was quite yet, but Mr. Grego, it appears Ms. Moon has a couple more questions for you. So when you're ready, you may ask your question, Ms. Moon.
Thank you for honoring my pro se position today. I would just like to know, since you have been in the community since 2016, what marketing strategies, social media strategies, or community involvement strategies are you using to increase your revenue like you said it was before?
Do you mean how much do we spend on marketing yearly? Is that what you're asking?
I'm not asking about the financial investment in marketing. I'm asking where your marketing presence can be found, or is there any community involvement, say volunteering, where that would help your marketing in word of mouth, presence in the community?
No, we are not a nonprofit business. We
Right.
provide a service for pay.
Okay. I was just clarifying. Thank you. That is all, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. So I believe now we have concluded the. Sorry. Go ahead. Yes. Ms. Moon, do you have any rebuttal evidence you wish to? Rebuttal evidence is any evidence that tends to contradict the evidence presented by Ego.
Well, I guess I would have a response to Exhibit 211 as far as that goes. I mean, being the 22-year-old charge and with the Colorado Code of Regulations, I just don't think that it's necessary to bring.
Okay, so I will allow rebuttal evidence in the form of your testimony.
Okay.
So you may respond. You may respond to. Was it hearing exhibit 211?
Yes.
So when you're ready, you may provide your rebuttal to that hearing exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to once again reiterate that this crime did stem from 22 years ago, literally half of my lifetime, which has given me the opportunity to move forward in not only improving myself, the people around me, the community that I live in, and the opportunity to gain state licensing, practicing with multiple populations of vulnerable, technically vulnerable populations. And as previously mentioned, have gained access to military bases. So I don't feel like this would be as detrimental as Pikes Peak is trying to present it as. Thank you.
Okay, any other rebuttal testimony?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. I will now give each of the parties the opportunity to make a closing argument. Neither party has to give a closing argument. Ms. Moon, would you like to make a closing argument? Again, I will remind you that the closing argument is something that summarizes the evidence and tells me how the evidence shows that the application, in your case, should be granted, and in Mr. Grego's case, should not be granted. So let's start with you, Ms. Moon. I'm sorry, I may have called you, I'm not sure what I said, but in any event, Ms. Moon, would you like to make a closing argument?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes. I would just like to close by saying it is apparent that my business approach in comparison to Pikes Peak is not the same. And although services in our community may be available, they have been proven to be inadequate on a consistent basis in our area. Her Ride's witnesses have stated and, contested to the need for additional options. I have the operational, managerial, and financial ability to introduce and bring Her Ride to our community and try to represent our local area. I just request that you grant authority for Her Ride to operate, Your Honor. This is an opportunity not only for Her Ride, but for the commission as well to respond to a spoken need in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grego, would you like to make a closing argument?
Sure. The applicant just stated that all the providers in the area are providing an inadequate service. this would fall into line with her inability to provide service to well over 100,000 people just based on the two bases that will bar her permanently based on her criminal record. The applicant has listed several skills, everything from being able to administer Narcan and trauma care. She's never once listed that she has 1 day of experience in driving professionally in any form at all, nor has she worked in an office where it's a transportation company. She has no basic understanding of how transportation works in the state of Colorado. She is a new resident. Basically, Your Honor, I mean, she really, like I said, this is the only application we've intervened on in El Paso County. Just based, she is completely not qualified to provide a service to the community here. I know she stated that she is passionate about community, but she will be turning away a large portion of the community, not providing a service. She can't provide a service safer than any other transportation service, like she's stating. It's just not possible. People call you for a ride, the driver shows up, drives the passenger somewhere. There's nothing anyone in transportation can do to provide a safer service. Basically everything she stated and her witnesses stated about Colorado Springs needing a female-owned business. There's several female-owned transportation companies in Colorado Springs, and all of them are able to provide service to the entire community. As for female drivers, Pikes Peak Cab has several female drivers. When a customer calls and requests a female driver, if they're available, we send them. And all of our vehicles have cameras in the vehicle facing in and out to provide safety for the passenger and driver. Let's see. I believe that is probably going to be it. And that and the last thing Colorado Springs needs with its customer base, it shrinks on average yearly. We don't need another service taking from established companies that are providing a good service to the community, to everyone in the community, not just a specific group in the community, but providing service to everybody in the community. So I think that covers everything, Your Honor.
Thank you very much to both of you and all of the witnesses. Appreciate the presentation. Last minute questions. Hearing none, I will take this matter under advisement and issue a written recommended decision. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.